I got a question from a chap called Lane, and he was asking, "Hey John, I've been going back and forth about moving from Kemper to ToneX, and I was wondering if I could pick your brains to gain some insight." Now, I'm not sure I have tons of insight, but today's video is going to be about that. I've done some videos, paid videos for ToneX, but I don't think it precludes me from kind of talking through the logic of this sort of stuff. Share your thoughts in the comments if you want, or if you want to share your favourite Nicolas Cage film, you could also do that. This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So, first of all, I'm a big pedalboard guy, and for the last year or so, I've been using a Kemper in 4-cable method in the middle of my board, so after drives and before wet effects. I love it, it's been a blast, but I've been wanting to downsize my pedalboard, and it got me thinking I'm carrying around a big board and a Kemper in a hard case. So I've been looking at other options like HX Stomp, etc., but I think the ToneX has been catching my eye because it seems the interface is kind of amp-like. And then from there, I'm considering getting two and running them post pedals all together. Again, I know it's subjective, but I'm wondering if it's a good move. Okay, so I wanted some more information on that. But basically, you hear there, he's carrying in a fairly big board, as well as a Kemper in a hard case. I asked him then, which Kemper profiles do you use at the moment? He says some of my favourites are the Matchless Laurel Canyon and Tyler HM30, both from Worship Tutorials. And I use some Dumble, 2 Rock and Matchless stuff from Tone Junkie. I got their everything pack on sale for free. And then occasionally I mess with some heavy stuff for fun, so I have some Cinmix stuff too. Then I asked him, what are your main reasons you're wanting to downsize, and I'm guessing you don't use the Kemper effects. My pedalboard is 32 by 16 and 60 pounds in the case. I play 2 to 4 times weekly, and I'm trying to get more travel work, so started by redesigning my pedalboard to be 24/16. When I'm using my pedalboard, I use Kemper only. I also use the Kemper Solo for smaller stuff and for bass. I do a fair amount of bass work, and I have a Kemper remote for these kind of gigs. The whole switch from Kemper was because what if my board was the entire rig? Worship Tutorials doesn't make profiles for ToneX, and Tone Junkie does, but he's only done a very small amount of packs. My honest opinion on this is that if you're already in the Kemper ecosystem, you've already spent some money on packs there. I don't think it's been shown that ToneX models, especially if you're not going into super heavy stuff, is that much superior that you would need to switch, in my opinion. Now, I can understand to say that if I hadn't already invested in the Kemper system, or you hadn't, then maybe the ToneX might be a good shot. I think this is a really cool piece of gear as well, especially for the money. But if you choose to jump into the new ecosystem of ToneX, you're going to have to then spend a bunch more money finding the tone models you like, unless you want to go through free tone models, which I'm sure there's a bunch of really cool free ones as well. That's been the case with Kemper for years as well. So you've already spent that money in the Kemper ecosystem, and you found some stuff you like the Mattress Laurel Canyon, Tyler, those aren't going to be available in ToneX from those same people that created those. So that might be a reason to stick if you needed one. The other thing is that I guess you've already made the decision that you're wedded to this pedal board idea. Like, up until relatively recently, this of course would have been the kind of typical Kemper deal, which is obviously a bit bigger than the ToneX. But the Kemper Player actually came out, for me, I would think that might be a better way to kind of downsize your rig in this particular case, because it would run the profiles that you already like. You've basically told me that you don't really use the effects in the Kemper too much. You would keep the money you've already got invested in the Kemper, basically still get some use out of that. I think people are generally liking the Kemper Player. I've not heard too much about it since the launch, but I don't know, that might be what is standing out to me as being the most obvious choice. The ToneX kind of controls are pretty simple, but is kind of basically because ToneX in itself is quite a simple concept in that you're running a profile at a time. You've got bass, middle and treble. If you've got the full ToneX pedal, there's some more stuff on that. Those are about the size of like a Strymon pedal, like a Strymon Big Sky or whatever. One advantage that I'd say that ToneX does have is that you can run it in a DAW. I think for your use case, particularly, Lane, it doesn't swing things either way, but I think it'd be a thing that the Kemper is sort of missing, and most other hardware, is that there isn't like a software version of it. So that's one thing I really like about ToneX, is that the tones that I can get in here, I can also get in my DAW. So for instance, if I have my rig all packed away for gigging, as you're saying, you're gigging 2 to 4 times a week, I could still have a practice rig with the same kind of tones, the same kind of vibes within my digital audio workstation, and this thing doesn't have to come off the pedal board. Also, in terms of talking about pedal boards, I think there's a guy, is it John Wright Music, who kind of put together a board with 2 ToneX ones. You might want to check out some of his videos. But for me, the reason that I think Kemper is going to endure still for a bit longer is that it actually takes quite a lot of time to create a ToneX model in general, whereas a Kemper profile is about 1 minute, 2 minutes in terms of creators. So I think you'll find that probably it's going to take a while for the ToneX ecosystem to catch up, because it just takes a lot of time. I think 15, 20 minutes, maybe even longer on some people's systems is probably more what you're looking at to create a tone model. So I think that's one of the things that is going to be holding ToneX back, because it's going to take quite a bit of time to get there. The end results, I think, are really good, and I guess another really positive thing for the ToneX world that you don't have in the Kemper so much is this Dumble stuff. So they actually bought Joe Bonamassa's Dumble and created some tone models of that. They've then gone into a Nashville studio with 4 Dumble amplifiers and created packs of that as well. They did that with some Mesa collections as well. So there's some like company sponsored kind of activity, which I think is really positive. I'd like to see more of that from ToneX, and I'm hoping that that sort of thing is going to be more of what they do as well, because I think it's a really cool concept. I guess you're going to have to factor in to your idea of like the price of things. Yes, the ToneX One by itself is very reasonably priced. ToneX Max is quite reasonably priced as well. If you get the ToneX pedal, I think you get ToneX Max bundled in, and so then you'd get the Dumble Joe Bonamassa collections. But each time you buy like a new pack, I think the Dumble collection by itself, the Legends thing, is like £100. Every, tone partner kind of creates models that are going to cost you a varying amount, but you can actually try them before you buy, I think, as well, or you can at least sample them, which is not something you can do so much on the Kemper. So that's a pretty cool feature of ToneX as well. So you might have some idea of what you're buying before you buy it. But ultimately, what I'd be looking at is for a really downsized gig, personally, for me, kind of trying to do everything in the box, because the Kemper and the remote by itself is actually going to weigh quite a bit less than your pedal board in general. So you might not need to spend any money, but that would be something I'd consider doing. If you're using your Kemper in 4-cable method with other effects, I might put together a little board which was just drive effects, and your wet effects get dealt with by the Kemper, because the Kemper effects I think are super underrated and are actually really, 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 really good. Also decent Kemper drives and Kemper fuzzes in there, so I think you could handle everything in the box as it is. That would be, I think, my easiest win that wouldn't spend any money, and you've already got profiles that you like. I might kind of put together a performance where I was trying to get as much out of the Kemper as possible. And for me, I used to gig the Kemper just itself. I really rate the delays and reverbs in here, and the drives now are better than they ever have been. So I think that might be my argument. Since you asked, should you switch from Kemper to ToneX? I think for me, the answer right now is probably not, unless you're really feeling it. I know we kind of talked about kind of Kemper killers at the time when they came out, and they were doing something that Kemper, as up to that point, hadn't done. Now that the Kemper Player exists, there is a smaller format Kemper. It's not quite as small as the Diddy ToneX, but I don't know. Can you say Diddy anymore? Probably not. That's my conclusion on that. Let other folks know in the comments if you've made the leap from ToneX to Kemper, or if you chose to stick with Kemper. I don't think there's like anything contentious about this. I think it's just a choice that some people have made, and whether they regret it and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully people are going to debate it in the comments a little bit and share their experience. Cheers.